They don't like that speech. They go, but Larry, you don't understand. You don't know what we're going through. You know they're right. I don't understand. And I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what any of y'all are going through either. And I don't care. No, I'm really serious when I say that. I don't care. And here's why. It doesn't matter what you're going through. I'll guarantee you I can find somebody going through a whole lot more than any of you are going through, and they still figured out how to be successful. Isn't that right? Say you bet. Amen. So shut up and deal with it. And then they go, but Larry, it's really, really bad. They're moving my desk. I've written all these books. My first book was called Shut Up, Stop Whining, and Get a Life. It came out in a new version last fall. Now it's been released in a comic book. Really, I wasn't going to write this book for long. I was very fortunate. It was my first book that I ever sold to a publisher. And the first week that it came out, it went to #1 on the bestseller list. So I was very fortunate. But before I wrote the book, I wasn't going to write the book because I decided the title was so good I didn't need all that. Just didn't need it. So before I had the book, I always had these T-shirts. And I'm a speaker. When he shows up, I got a lot of stuff to sell, like all these people. However, I got a bag of books back there to sell you today, and if you want it, that's fine. It's got 5 bestsellers in it, real bestsellers, not crap that sold best last week outside the room. Some of y'all will get that. Real bestsellers, 5 of them in a bag, plus 3 DVDs, 2 CDs for $100. I'm not charging you thousands of dollars like a lot of people do. $100. Everybody can afford $100, isn't that right? Absolutely, but it doesn't have a shirt in it. But people would come to the back of the room where all my stuff was. And they'd always look at everything on my table, and they'd stop in front of the shirt, and they'd look at the shirt, and then they'd look at me and say, you know, I know somebody who needs that shirt. How many of y'all know somebody who needs that shirt? You know, I always got so sick of hearing that, because it was always somebody else who needs the shirt. So I did a new run of them and printed it upside down so you could just look down and read it yourself. Because I think we all ought to be told every once in a while, shut up and stop whining. Isn't that right? Say you bet. Yes. But people love to whine. Isn't that true? People love to whine. You know people, some people, whining has become their very best friend. They wouldn't know what to do without it. They whine constantly. And believe it or not, I'm the wrong guy to whine to. I did one of these not long ago. A guy caught me outside the room, came running up to me, and he said, you know, Larry, I was watching you up there, and I'm just betting you're doing all right. I'm not doing so good. But you really don't understand. You just don't get it. You don't have to put up with those people I got to work with. And my boss is an idiot. And you don't have to go home to my wife. And you're not putting up with my kids. And then he got his finger involved. And that bothers me. He said, you haven't been through what I've been through, Larry. You're not going through what I'm going through right now. You just don't get it. My life sucks. I said, well, let me help you with this. It's because you suck. You see, I think if your life sucks, it's because you suck. By the way, that was my Facebook posting yesterday. I got a death threat over it. I was called a worshiper of Satan. I found out people don't like that line. Really, if you want to have some fun, go to my Facebook fan page, folks. Holy crap. Go to Larry Winget fan page. You can see an exchange of words between people. I told a guy yesterday he was too stupid to communicate with, even electronically. I mean, holy crap. By the way, y'all figured out yet I'm not really a motivational speaker? You know, there was a time in my life I called myself a motivational speaker. Not anymore, not for sure. And all the biggest motivational guys in the business, those are my best buddies. Really, they are. We're good friends. But and this is the reason I don't call myself a motivational speaker anymore. Those guys are liars. No, really, they are. They're saying stuff doesn't even make sense. You've heard it. You knew it didn't make sense when you heard it, and you bought into it. You let them get by with it. I don't let them get by with it. You've heard them say this: as long as you've got a good, positive attitude, everything in your life will be all right. You've heard that before. Folks, I've had a good, positive attitude all my life. I've had more crap happen to me. You see, it's not true. Having a good positive attitude doesn't keep anything from happening to you. It just helps you deal with all the crap that does happen to you. Because whether you like it or not, that crap's going to happen. You better figure out how to deal with it. Isn't that right? Say you bet. And then you've got those idiots out there saying, I followed a guy the other day, and this was the name of his speech. The name of his speech was, you can do the impossible. No, you can't. The very definition of the damn word impossible means it can't be done. If you did it, it was hard, but it was not impossible. And then you got those bozos that come on stage and say, here's the key, you just go out there and you give it 110%. You heard that? Some even have little stupid lapel pins that say 110% on them. Oh my God, you can't give it 110%. 100% is all there is, all there is, all there is. That's why they call it all there is. You can't do more than all there is. It's kind of like being on the airplane and you hear the flight attendant say, today's flight will be extremely full. No, it won't. It can only be full. Full is all there is. If it's extremely full, got somebody riding on a wing or something. And you hear him say, you become what you think about. That's the oldest motivational line in the history of our world. Did you know that? The first thing ever written down is by Marcus Aurelius. He said, a man becomes what he thinks about all day long. That's not true. Really, if that were true, I would be Halle Berry. And then you got those idiots out there saying this. In fact, I bet you're a parent. You've said this. You can be whatever you want to be. You heard it right? You've said it. You've told your kids that. You can be whatever you want to be. No, you can't. If you are short, fat, and ugly, the supermodel thing's not working out for you. The reality is you can be whatever you have the basic talent for and are willing to work hard enough to obtain. That's the truth. But you must have the basic talent and you must be willing to work hard enough to make it happen. Now, does that make sense? Exactly. It's not all this stupid stuff, and they just say the dumbest stuff. They really do. They say, we're in this to change your lives. And there are a lot of speakers out there that say they got into the business to change your life. Oh my God, no they didn't. They did not. I'll tell you right now, I didn't get into the self-help business to help anybody but myself. You think, I cannot believe that man said that. You got in the business you're in to help yourself too. You don't do it for free either, do you? Now, I spoke to a real estate group this last week. In fact, that was who I was doing in Australia, 7 events. And I said, you sell people houses. And I got so sick of, I was always the closing guy, with them saying, we got in this business to help people get into a house. You got into this business so you could get into a better house. That's why people get in the real estate business, isn't that right? So they can better themselves. It's okay. It really is okay. People are out there saying we got to change lives. I didn't get in this to change other people's lives. I got in this to change my life because this is my business. And because it's my business, I have a more honorable transaction with you. I do. It's more honorable. This is my profession. I am paid to do this. And because I am paid to do this, this is a transaction between me and my customer. And I am committed to being the very best because it's our business transaction. That's the way you have to look at everything you do. Don't be an idiot and say you're doing this because you're passionate about it and you're in it just to help them. You are in this to help you. They are paying you to get the help, which means in a business relationship, you give them your best, whether you feel like it, whether you want to do it, whether you're motivated to do it, whether you're in the mood to do it. You do it because that is the business transaction that is honorable. Now, does that make sense to you? I can tell you, people hate that. And motivational speakers will never tell you that. They won't. But then again, they're saying lots of stupid stuff. They are. This is one I heard, this one's become real popular. In fact, I heard Oprah say this, so it's got to be true. The key to success, happiness, and prosperity, just be yourself. You've heard that, haven't you? Be yourself. Oh, yeah, that'll work. What if you're stupid? What if you're an asshole? What if you're a stupid asshole? Why don't you be somebody else? Nobody likes you. And then they say, as long as you feel really good about yourself, you can do anything. No. No. You never made a positive change in your life when you felt good about who you are. That's not when we make positive change. We make positive change not when we feel good about who we are. We make positive change in our lives when we get uncomfortable with who we are. Isn't that right? When you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, well, you just might, maybe, possibly, though probably not, will do something about it. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. You all are sitting in those chairs. You can sit in those chairs at this very moment until the moment you become uncomfortable. And at the moment you become uncomfortable, that's when you shift and you move and you change in order to, again, become comfortable. Because as long as you're comfortable, well, you're just going to sit there. Now, it works that way when you sit in a chair. It works that way in your business. It works the very same way in your personal life. We never make a change as long as we're comfortable. We only make a change when we become uncomfortable. Now, does that make sense to you? You know the best thing about the recession? It made people uncomfortable. It made people uncomfortable, so they had to get smart. Businesses had to go back and start taking care of their customers again. They had to go back to the old stuff, selling, treating people right, servicing their customers. They had to do the right things because they were scared. And the recession put them in a bind. And I think it was the best thing that ever happened to customer service, ever. Some of you are uncomfortable. Good. Good. Because that's when you will shift and you will move and you will change in order to, again, become comfortable by doing new things. Now, does that make sense to you? Say you bet. Yeah. And you've got to be flexible with how you do things because I'll guarantee you it doesn't always work out. You know, the one thing the success idiots don't ever mention is that almost 90% of everything you do is going to be a failure. That's just how it is. It's not going to work, folks. It just doesn't work. You know, so you got to do it over and over and over again. It doesn't work all the time. You got to be flexible with how you do things. Be willing to start over. You know, there's just not a lot of flexibility in the world these days. Not a lot of flexibility in the way the businesses do business with us. I travel all the time. I was having a day that I was traveling across the country and nothing was going right. You ever had a travel day where nothing went right? I mean, nothing went right. Have you ever noticed that the only flight that ever leaves on time is the one your connecting flight was late for? This was a day that it was just not going well. There was no food on any airplane. There was no time for food at any of my connections. I'd figured it all out in my brain. I knew by the time I finally got to my hotel that night, it was going to be about 11:30. I'd stayed at this particular hotel chain many, many times. I knew that room service closed at 11 o'clock. I knew I was going to be doomed to eating out of a machine in the hallway. Ever been there? Yep, that's how it works sometimes, sure enough. And I like this hotel chain, and I'm not going to tell you the name of the hotel chain. I will tell you this, when they named this hotel chain, there were 2 trees involved. Sure enough, 11:30 at night, I'm standing at the front desk of the hotel. I'm checking in. My front desk clerk is standing in front of me. Now, have you ever checked into this hotel and when you check in, they give you something? What is it? They give you a cookie. We're standing there at the end of the transaction. The front desk clerk looks at me and said, "Sir, here is your warm DoubleTree chocolate chip cookie." I take that cookie and hug it to my breast. Cannot wait to get to my room and eat this cookie. There's a guy standing right next to me. He's checking in. He's at the end of his transaction. His front desk clerk looks at him and says, "Sir, here's your warm DoubleTree chocolate chip cookie." He said, "No, that's all right. I'm not really very hungry, and besides that, I don't like chocolate." Well, first of all, what kind of person doesn't like chocolate? I look at his front desk clerk and said, "I want that cookie." She looks at me and says, "Sir, I can't do that. You see, this cookie has been assigned to his room." I said, "Cookies have room assignments?" This is a good guy. He turns to me and says, "Hey, buddy, I'm going to get this for you. Hang on just a minute. Just wait just a second." Turns back to her and says, "I've changed my mind. I want that cookie after all." And the front desk clerk looks at him and says, "I can't do that either. You see, the cookie's already been declined." Does stuff like that bother you? Man, stuff like that bothers me. It does. And what's amazing is that story happened exactly like that, word for word, 10 years ago. And here I am, 10 years later, Still pissed off about that cookie. All because of a little bit of flexibility, right? Last idea is this. I think we need to lighten up and have more fun. You agree with that? I do. I think we ought to have as much fun as we can every single day. I know that is hard for some people. Some people have no sense of humor at all. You know people with no sense of humor? People who are going to die of terminal professionalism. If you didn't get that, it's probably you. And after 2 days together, we all know who you are. And you bother the rest of us. Really, you ought to have as much fun as you can. I travel all the time. I got 2 boys. My boys used to travel with me a lot. I have 2 sons. One is a fashion designer. They're grown men now. One's a fashion designer in Los Angeles, doing real well. My other son spent 8 years in the Army where he was a sniper in the 82nd Airborne. Now he's a sniper for the Phoenix Police Department. So I have one son who's a fashion designer, and the other's a trained killer. Pretty much the purest aspects of my personality, though, so it works. They used to travel with me when they were little boys. I was doing a speech in Columbus, Ohio. And I was right outside of the meeting rooms talking on this bank of pay telephones. My son walks up to me with this little sign that he tore off the wall. He did vandalize the hotel. It said, "House phone is connected directly to hotel operator." He said, "Dad, do you know how painful that would be?" I'd seen that sign hundreds of times, never even thought about that. They were with me, and we were doing a speech in Washington, D.C., and they were with me, and we flew into Baltimore, and we got off the airplane in Baltimore, and we all run into the men's room. We get into the men's room, there's a little sign hanging right above the urinals. It said, "Hands-free operation." My son reads the sign, puts his hands in his pockets. He steps up, turns to me and said, "Cool." He said, "Dad, if this thing works, we need to get us one of these." See, you can have a good time no matter what. In fact, here's really the key to having a good time. All you got to do is pay attention. There's more funny stuff out there if you will just pay. It's everywhere. Really, it's everywhere. I was working a speech in Las Vegas. I like Las Vegas. Y'all like Las Vegas? Holy crap, I like Las Vegas. I really do. It's loud, it's tacky, it's obnoxious, it's flashy, it's up all night. It's me. And I was doing a speech, and I got up the next morning. I was walking down the hall on the way to the meeting room. As I walked down the hall, I saw a sign on one of the doorways there in the hall. Now, I was very fortunate. The sign was brand new, came right off. Sign said, "No exit. This is not an entrance." What do you call a door you can't go in or out? A wall, I guess. This is one of my newer signs. I got it in Houston, Texas. We got anybody here from Texas? Y'all are from Texas? This one was also hanging right above the urinals. It said, "Do not eat the urinal cakes." This a problem for you guys in Texas? Seriously, fellas, you ever been standing there? Now, those look tasty. And you know, here's what's sad. If they had to put up a sign, somebody already had to eat one. I visited a friend of mine in the hospital. I'm walking in the hall on the way to his room, and I see this little temporary sign taped to the wall of the hospital. It said, "The obesity support group meeting has been moved to the cafeteria." Folks, you can't even make this stuff up. I was doing a speech in Little Rock, Arkansas. Small meeting, but it was their corporate meeting. And you know when you register at a big meeting, you've been to millions of them, I know you have. You normally register by the first letter of your last name. So they have booster tables or whatever, and they have signs above them to let you know which line to get in based on the first letter of your last name. So the signs always say things like A through G, H through M, and so forth. Now this was a small meeting, had a little 6-foot table just like this, 2 little signs taped to the front of the table, which I have. And I guess they decided at this meeting not to sign up by the first letter of the last name, but instead by category of individual. They had these 2 categories. They had the a-hoes and the huzzies. When I got there, it was easy for me to know which line I was supposed to be in. I get called this a lot, I promise. I got this one. I don't share this with everybody, but I really like this sign. I was staying at this place in Kansas, and there's a little temporary sign too, and this was in the hotel room. I really don't have anything funny to say about this one. I just want to read it to you. It said, "Please use the dark washcloth for tasks that may stain our towels." I got nothing on that one. I just couldn't believe it. I got my #1 holy crap can't beat it sign. I was doing a deal in Tennessee. And I like deals that are kind of easy to get to. This was easy. You fly into Chicago, you get in a cab, brings you to the hotel, not a big deal. This was a tough deal to do. I had to fly into Nashville, get in a car, drive across the state of Tennessee. Tennessee's a long state. And I had to get up the next morning, give the speech, drive back across the state of Tennessee, and fly out. Now, it was a long, long drive, and I had to stop at this gas station and put gas in this rental car. And when I got there, I got out to put the gas in the car, and I saw that the pump was out of order. And there was a sign on it, but the sign didn't say out of order, and the sign didn't say out of service, and the sign didn't say not working. It didn't say broken. It didn't say any of the things that you would normally associate with something being broken, out of service, and not working. Instead, this sign, which I have, was taped up there with duct tape. It was written on the back of a 12-pack of Coors Light long necks, and the sign said, "Tored up." T-O-R-D, up. I love this sign. I like it simple. It doesn't get any more simple than that. And actually, I was a little surprised that it was tore up. Because after all, I'm from Oklahoma, and in Oklahoma, you got a roll of duct tape and a 12-pack of Coors, you can fix anything. Just remember, it's not that hard to have a good time. It's really not. I was doing a speech in Cancun, popular convention city. My wife was with me on this one. We're walking through one of the little malls. It's the mall where all the designer stores were. So there was a Gucci store, a Fendi store, a Ralph Lauren store, Guess store, Tommy Hilfiger store. And as we're walking past all the stores, out in front of the Guess store is what we would call, now folks, again, I'm from Oklahoma, so in Oklahoma we would call this a big old boy. Y'all know what a big old boy looks like? Folks, this was a big old boy. And he had just been in the Guess store, bought himself a brand new Guess shirt, had the word Guess written across the front, letters about that big. He's already put his shirt on. He is standing in front of the store like this. My wife and I walk out, I see him standing there, I stop in front of him, I look him up and down and go, oh, about $375. This fella had no sense of humor. My wife said, I cannot believe you said that to that man. I said, it said Guess right there. She's still a little amazed at what I actually do for a living. In fact, I said to her the other day, I said, honey, in your wildest dreams, you believe I'd be doing all this? She said, Larry, in my wildest dreams, you don't even show up. I just think we ought to lighten up and have more fun. And you can have fun doing anything. I spend almost every single day of my life on an airplane. Airline travel's tough, isn't that right? I was on a plane the other day. I was at the bulkhead seat. Bulkhead seat, of course, is the seat that has the wall in front of it. And when you sat in that seat, you did what I did what you did, we both did what every single person in the history of airline flight did. What was that? You put your feet on the wall. I had my feet on the wall. The flight attendant comes out, stops next to me, looks at my feet on the wall and goes, no. I said, is there a problem? She said, of course there's a problem. Your feet are on our wall. I said, is that really a problem? She said, let me put it to you like this. If you were at home sitting in your chair, would your wife let you put your feet on the wall? I said, if I gave her $500 an hour to sit there, she would. So anymore, when I'm on a plane, I just want it over. Isn't that how you are? I want it over, so I do anything in the world I can to make it go by faster. If I can take a nap, I take a nap. I also watch a lot of DVDs, listen to a lot of music, watch a lot of TV shows on my iPad. I do all that stuff, read a lot of books. Pretty much all my books have even been written on airplanes. One thing I always do on an airplane is read the in-flight magazine. Every in-flight magazine on every airline in the world today, I've discovered, has the very same advertisement. It is the advertisement for the logo watches. Have you seen that ad? I wanted that watch, but I wanted my watch to be just exactly like the one in the ad. I wanted my watch to say, your logo here. I tore the ad out, I put some money with it, I sent it into the company. About 2 weeks later, a lady from the company called and said, sir, you don't seem to understand. I said, what is it I don't understand? She said, sir, you are supposed to put your logo here. I said, well, actually, that's exactly what I want you to do. She said, what do you want us to do? I said, put your logo here. She said, no, sir, not our logo, your logo. I said, you've complicated this. Type Y-O-U-R-L-O-G-O-H-E-R-E, stick it on a watch and mail it to me. She said, sir, why are you doing that? I said, because it's funny. She said, no, sir, that's not funny. See, it is funny. And the funny thing is to be sitting on the airplane wearing your watch. And then you notice the guy in the seat next to you reading that ad. And then you poke him and said, hey, I got me one of those. That is the only time I want to talk to anybody on an air. I hate to talk to people on airplanes, don't you? And really, they always want to put me next to somebody who wants to tell me the whole life story, and I don't care. So I came up with a guaranteed way to make sure nobody ever talks to me on an airplane. I designed these fake book covers. And you can wrap these book covers around whatever paperback book you're reading. You can put one of them, all three of them, on the armrest between the seats, and I will guarantee you when they sit down there and see them, they won't say one word to you. The first one is how to sell insurance to people on airplanes. Then we have how to sue the person in the seat next to you on an airplane. My favorite and the most effective, finding love on an airplane. By the way, the subtitle of this one is, I'm from Mars, you're from Venus. Let's get together and explore Uranus. I haven't done that subtitle in years. Last time I did that subtitle, I got sued. Really, that's how politically correct that we've become. I got sued for saying that from the stage. So that's the mess we're in. So I think we need to keep our sense of humor. Y'all agree with that? Say you bet. Now, some of you at this point are saying, boy, Larry, I've been listening to you, and I've listened to all this stuff that's been said, and I am with you, and I am pumped up, I'm fired up, I'm ready to go. When should I get started? It's like the guy who goes to his retirement party. His friends are all talking to him, and they say, what are you going to do when you retire? He said, I have 3 goals for retirement. Number 1, I'm just going to travel. My wife's going to retire, and we're going to go on the road and have some fun. Number 2, I'm going to play some golf. Haven't been able to do that. Number 3, I'm going to spend time with my grandchildren. They said, man, that'd be great. They run into their friend about a year later. They said, how are you enjoying retirement? He said, we're having so much fun. My wife retired. We've just been traveling. We've been in 28 states. We've been up to Canada. We just got back from Europe. Been playing lots of golf. I shaved 5 strokes off my golf game. Really, there's only one thing that I really wanted to do I haven't been able to do. They said, what's that? He said, play with my grandchildren. They said, well, why haven't you been doing that? He said, I don't have any grandchildren. He said, why not? He said, I don't know. I got 3 kids. They're all perfectly healthy. They're all happily married. But for some reason, they don't have any kids, and I don't have any grandkids. So he put together a plan to get himself some grandkids. He called his children and their spouses over to his house on Thanksgiving Day. Had them all standing around a big round table. He said, now before I say the blessing, we all sat down. I got one really quick announcement to make. Yesterday, I opened up a $100,000 trust fund in the name of my very first grandchild. Will you please bow your heads? He said the blessing, when he said amen and looked up, is just him and his wife standing there. The moral of the story is if you were ever going to get started, you ought to get started right now. I've had fun with you all tonight. Appreciate my time. I'll be happy to sign books for you back there. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.